Hi there. Happy Wine Wednesday. Oh, hey, Jenny.
Happy Wine Wednesday. How are you, Mish?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We made it. I feel like we're turning the corner here in Austin for a little bit better weather, even though it was crazy. We got, Michelle, we got golf ball and baseball size hail last night.
Oh my gosh. What were your cars damaged?
It was so funny. I was having one of those evenings where I didn't want to do anything. And my girlfriend Jenna texted me and was like, "Hey, do you want to go to Rosie's for paella night?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave the house." And I was like, "You know what, Jenny, just go." And so I went and picked her up. We went to Rosie's for paella night. And when I left, the hail and the storm came to my house where my car was not, but it did not hit us where we were at Rosie's. So it was very serendipitous.
Oh, good. Well, good thing you went.
Yeah, seriously. It was kismet. It was very serendipitous. Anyways, we are so excited to be with you guys today. We are talking about a topic that we have talked to you guys about before, but quite frankly, there's never a bad time to talk about this. And so many women especially grapple with it because we put too much on our plate. It's just proven that we do. The stats don't lie. So we're going to talk to you guys about burnout, but more specifically, we're going to talk about 5 strategies that we've leveraged and that we believe in to help you overcome burnout. If you guys remember, we actually have an ebook about burnout. And if you'd like it, reach out to us. We will absolutely provide it to you. It's been really helpful for the both of us. So we're going to talk and get really granular on the 5 things that we have found to be the most effective at combating burnout. But before we dive into that, I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you guys about wine.
Yes, let's hear your wine of the week.
Let's do it. So we are actually drinking a Slovenian wine today, which I'm not sure if we have ever done that on the pod before. But Slovenia is a really beautiful wine region. They're actually known for their orange wine. The one that we're drinking today is not an orange wine. It is a Sauvignon Blanc, which I have a love-hate relationship with. But this one is really special. Domaine Seringa. It, to me, drinks a lot like a Sancerre. I hadn't tried it until this week. I actually tried it at Rosie's, which is one of my favorite wine bars. And usually whenever you order a Sauvignon Blanc, it can be a bit boring. Just a little bit of gooseberry, But this one is actually, a lot rounder. It's got a lot more personality. It's pretty complex, but it's still something that you can drink on a hot day outside, and it pairs really well with seafood. So if you guys have a chance, I would definitely check this one out. It's featured in our newsletter with all of the details, and there's a little write-up in there like we always do if you guys want to learn more about it.
Yeah, it sounds good. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it this week, but you keep my eye out for it. I feel like Sauvignon Blanc is one of my go-tos if I don't know what I'm going to drink.
It is. It's usually a safe assumption. It is, albeit a bit boring.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what was your rose you were going for the week, Mish?
Yeah. So let's see. My rose of the week, or since we last spoke, so I continued my travel journey across the United States, and I visited Nashville for the first time, and it was amazing. I loved it. I got to see 2 country concerts and did all of the popular Nashville things. And then we went to Knoxville actually for 2 days after to see a concert. We got to explore the University of Tennessee and everything. And it was so much fun. I love Nashville so much. I was trying to convince my boyfriend if he would move there actually.
Of course.
It was actually the first time that he said maybe. And normally it's no, I'm not leaving New York, but he was actually contemplating it, I think.
We're inching him closer.
Yes, we're inching him closer to Texas.
Love it. Yes, definitely.
Yes. All right. And then my thorn of the week, does anyone ever feel like their life is just so chaotic and you're just living in chaos? I feel like every second is just chaos and I can't catch up on anything. And I just really especially after almost 3 months of travel, I feel like I'm excited to be back into my routine, but things can kind of settle down, get a grapple on my life.
Not your Capricorn coming out.
I know, it's not. It's not, which actually has led me to some burnout, I would say, and has me going through some of these recovery or techniques that we will kind of hint to you later. But yeah, but Jenny, what about you?
Yeah. So it's funny. Michelle and I are recording this today, and both of us, I feel like, are definitely in it when it comes to burnout. So just because you work on it and you think about it doesn't mean that you don't find yourself there again, which is why these tools are very helpful. So my rose last week was, it's finally like boating season, if you will, here in Austin. And my husband and I got our boat out of storage, and we went out on like a random Thursday because both of us, like, we're entrepreneurs. So sometimes when we have a day, we can take advantage of good weather. It was beautiful outside. And it was just like one of those days that's a core memory. It was our first day of the season. It was beautiful. Everything was so scenic. Like, it was just like endorphins that were being released. It was just such a good reset. We had so much fun. And I guess my thorn is kind of related, and it's like not really a thorn, but it was just like a very, like, it made me sad. So when we took our boat out of storage, we actually found 5 baby kittens in there. And like, we didn't realize they were, because we have a cover over the boat. So we didn't realize. And then when we got home, there were 5 kittens in like underneath the cover. And we were like, oh my God, they were like 2 weeks old.
Oh my God.
So we couldn't find the mom, which is the most ideal reconciliation. Right. So then we were like driving all over town, like trying to find a shelter that would take them or tell us like what to do with them, like anything. We were like, oh my God. And finally we went to Austin Pets Alive, which is one of my favorite nonprofit organizations here in Austin. That's where I've gotten all my dogs from. Love them. Shout out APA. And they were amazing, and they took care of the kitties, and they told us kind of like what the next steps were, and that they were healthy, and they like identified that they were boys or girls, etc. So we put them in their hands, and all is well. But it was really sad that like the mom wasn't around, and they're like, they were so cute. I'm not even a cat person, and they were so cute.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a cat person either, but sometimes when you see kittens, there's like one cat in my neighborhood that's just super friendly, and it kind of makes me like re-question whether or not I'm like a cat.
Okay, but they turn into actual cats, so like you might want to hold off on that, okay?
Dog lover for life.
I know. I just love dogs. You guys know that. I can't cheat on the dogs. I always have to have doggies. So anyways, getting into our topic, super excited. I specifically have been combating burnout a lot this year, and it's a lot of like work and personal and what have you. And so I'm having to keep a lot of these principles at the forefront of my mind and making sure that I'm practicing what I preach, because just because you are a proponent of it doesn't mean that you can't sometimes forget, right? So we'll kind of go through these one by one. The first thing that I have found to be literally the most effective probably on this list is catching up on your sleep. And that is a misnomer, because when you're burned out, it's difficult to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to put yourself in kind of the optimal conditions. And for me, what that means is I've done a lot of research on sleep recently and how I can optimize that. Not only am I getting older, but I have a lot more on my plate and I'm dealing with burnout. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping at the forefront of my mind how I can optimize when I can get sleep, right? And I listened to the Andrew Huberman podcast. Scandal aside, we're going to focus on the science. But here are some of the tips that I was able to glean from the Andrew Huberman podcast, from other individuals that I've talked to, and just from some of the studying that I've done. First and foremost, try your hardest to have the same wake up time and go to bed time. It just puts you on a clock and gives your circadian rhythm time to adjust to what your schedule is going to be. And I know that we can't always go to bed at the same time every night. It's not necessarily realistic, but sometimes even if you go to bed later, still try to wake up when you're used to waking up, because if you need more sleep, you can always take a nap. There's a lot of avenues for you to make sure that you're well rested, but sleep is something that can spiral if you continue to get bad sleep over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And no one is saying you have to wake up at 5 a.m., you guys. Like, I am a night owl, and so I set my wake up time a lot later and I go to bed later. That's okay. You don't have to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful. So just kind of check in with yourself and ask yourself when you need to be waking up every single day, and then try to set a rhythm according to that. One of the other things that I also thought was really interesting is no aggressive lighting before you go to bed. And this is because our bodies naturally produce melatonin, not just the gummies that we eat before bed, but any aggressive lighting, whether it's like having your overhead lights on, whether it's your television, whether it's your phone, all of those can disrupt the melatonin that your body is naturally producing. That doesn't mean you can't look at your phone. You just should dim the light on your phone. And if you don't want overhead lights on, maybe put a lamp on, right? So just try to be cognizant of dimming the lights in relation to when your body is telling you that, like, hey, let's cool down for the evening.
Mm-hmm. Also, on that topic, blue light glasses also help. So I'll try to put these on at night, or I should actually be wearing them all day. But
that is such a good point. I always forget about those.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Mainly because I'm like wearing glasses mostly, but
exactly. But yeah, but they do help. I always forget. I'm gonna leave them out. So remember.
So get your blue light glasses, you guys. Yeah, Auntie Michelle says so. And another thing is, apparently our bodies need to cool down to effectively go into sleep mode, about 1 to 3 degrees. So keeping your bedroom at the very least a little bit cooler in the evenings. Obviously, we don't all know what our core temperature is, so that's going to be individualized based on who you are. But making sure that you keep your bedroom is cooler, and then on the flip side of that, your body actually has to warm up 1 to 3 degrees to wake up. So just making sure that you're like being cognizant of that. Something that I found, and Michelle and I were talking about this, and it's just kind of just goes to show that so much of the research and data that we have does not speak to women, when it comes to health, right? So recently there have been studies, and we've always heard you have a 90-minute sleep cycle where you're going to get REM and then stage 1, stage 2 of sleep, et cetera, what have you. And recently there's been some data that has come out from people who study sleep that has said women, our REM is about 15 minutes shorter than men's.
Wow.
Which means we need more sleep because our REM cycles are not lasting as long. Because if it's on a 90-minute cycle, you're only getting XYZ amounts of REM within that cycle. And so you therefore need longer 90-minute cycles if you're a woman than if you're a man, because 15 minutes adds up.
Yeah.
When you're looking in 90-minute increments. That's a lot of REM sleep that we're lacking, that our male counterparts are getting.
Yeah.
So this whole 7 to 8.5 hours of sleep, that is not a blueprint for everybody. That's something that we all have to assess for ourselves. And it's clinically proven that women need more sleep than men. Yeah. So I just found that to be fascinating because it's of course we don't know. Right.
I know. I definitely need probably more sleep than 7 to 8 hours.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm still looking for the sweet spot. It's really difficult to discern.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, wow, that's so interesting.
Super interesting.
Someone needs to do a further study on it.
I know. We need to women in science, help us out. Let's go. Yes. But kind of in that same vein, it's we have a 90-minute REM cycle. So I don't know if you guys ever do this. I do it all the time. I'm normally I wake up at 8. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6 because I have a really long day ahead of me and I need to catch up on the day. Mm-hmm. Well, if you wake up at 6, you're I'm only missing out on 25% of my sleep for the night. Well, that's not true in most cases because you're likely waking up in the middle of a REM cycle and you might be missing out on up to 50% of your sleep because you're literally cutting off part of your circadian rhythm in the sleep that you're supposed to be getting. Yeah. So just understand that. I was talking to Michelle. One of the things they were saying, a little bit beforehand, one of the things they were saying is if you wake up, there's mixed data from what I can tell on hitting your snooze or going back to bed. I think generally speaking, it's bad to hit your snooze button if you're only intending to sleep for another 15 or 20 minutes, because you're likely going to fall into a deeper sleep and then you're not going to be awake when you wake up. But some of the things that I've heard are like, if you want to go back to sleep and you feel like your body needs more sleep, then get more sleep. So you guys do your own research about that. I am to be very transparent with you, I'm playing with both right now to see how I feel. But I think
you have to let us know.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys updated. I feel like it's just one of those, like, the more you know, just try to keep, just make sure that you're doing everything you can to optimize. And there's so much more that we could go into on sleep, but bottom line is, like, when you're burnt out, so is your body. So try your best to get more sleep than you normally would.
Yes. Very good tip there. Definitely need our sleep. Okay. Next, the next recovery that we want to talk about is exercise and getting your body moving, getting outside. And then also a little bit about grounding, which I don't know if many of you are familiar with that, but we'll go over it briefly. But I can't tell you enough how important it is to, exercise and how much that will help you if you're feeling burnt out. And I know a lot of people will say well, I have so much to do, I can't exercise today. But it's real. If you think about it, all you need is probably 20 to 30 minutes. And realistically, you're probably on your phone scrolling for 20 to 30 minutes anyway a day. So just kind of think of that mindset, or while you're scrolling, go for a walk. But definitely, exercise. What happens is when you exercise, I know it's kind of a little cheesy and could go off at the Legally Blonde quote, but it's really that, when you exercise, you release your endorphins, and endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't kill people. You remember that line?
I so iconic. And also leave it to our quote queen to come through for us.
So when you exercise, it releases those endorphins, which will boost our mood and actually help us be able to handle stress better and overcome burnout. And also kind of the term runner's high. And then also getting outside. And I've seen a lot of research lately about getting outside within the first 15 minutes and putting your face in the sun, and how beneficial that is. And it actually also helps you to wake up. And then also just being outside. I don't know about you guys, but once I go outside, especially if it's nice weather, don't want to go out in the Austin hailstorms.
Don't get hit by a golf ball.
Yes, don't get hit by a golf ball of hail. But going outside just instantly puts me in a better mood, especially if I'm stressed. I'll even just take 5 minutes to get up from my work, go outside, and come back with a clear mind and ready to tackle the next thing. And last on this topic is grounding. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the topic, but what grounding is actually immersing yourself into nature. And so examples of that could be taking a walk outside barefoot, putting your feet in the sand or grass. There's also some other techniques for it. So actually, I learned this from my dad. So my dad's also an entrepreneur, and he was feeling out very stressed and burnt out. And I went over to his house one day, and he was sitting outside, just standing in the grass, staring at the sun. And I'm like, what are you doing? Are you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm grounding. And I was like, oh, okay. What is that? And so he told me, and I was like, wow, okay. That's awesome. Excuse me, I'm getting over a little cold here. But yeah, so definitely exercising and getting outside and moving is very important.
That's amazing that you saw it happening in the wild. I love that.
Yeah. He actually also, this is really funny, but he purchased a grounding blanket for his bed. And it's a sheet that goes under you, and it's supposed to take all the negativity out and stress from you when you sleep.
Must link in bio. We need this. I'm anything that's going to help the anxiety and stress girlies.
Yeah. But apparently it works wonders.
Okay, love that.
Yes.
Yeah, I can just fully agree with everything that you're saying. Like that whenever you're stressed out, I always say like whenever I'm stressed, like found a mountain range, like find a mountain range or find a hill or find a tree to look at. Like it's always gonna make you feel better in the moment if you're intentional about it. Because it's just like so easy to take that kind of stuff for granted and it just makes all of your problems feel small. So I try to make I try to make a habit of doing that as often as I can. And the next big strategy that we like to employ is setting boundaries. And I know this kind of seems like it's an outlier. Like, how does that fit into burnout? Well, anytime you're around somebody who you guys have all been around somebody like this who is just like a drain all the time. They just like pull your energy all the time. And being around them is like you have to like give yourself a pep talk to even be around them. And you feel like they just take all the time. And that can be somebody that's a friend, a coworker, your family, what have you. And it is so important to set boundaries with these people because people can be not only a drain to you like physically, but they can be a drain to you emotionally. And you don't have an untapped amount of energy to give out. We only have what we have of physical energy and emotional energy. And we have to make sure that we're filling our own cup to replenish that. And if somebody is constantly depleting all of those resources that we have at the outset and we're not replenishing it, then we're going to get burned out and it's never going to end well. So for me, that looks like stopping being a perpetual people pleaser. I've been recently sitting with anytime someone asks me to do something, whether it's in a social capacity or a work capacity, what have you. Instead of just my old response used to be looking at my calendar and fitting it in.
Yeah.
My new response is, do I actually want to do this? Like, is this something that's actually going to serve me? Is this something that I'm going to enjoy?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then why am I doing that for someone else? Right. And so it's just really important to be communicative about that, not only with yourself internally, but also outwardly and making sure that you're being respectful when you do so. But it's important to set boundaries. And there's so many books that are great resources for this. Boundaries is one of them. If you guys haven't read it, it's an excellent read. Also, Crucial Conversations really helped me because sometimes I've had to do this with really close friends or family members. They're no fault of their own. It's just that I just didn't have anything left in the tank. And I am notorious for running on an empty engine. And it's just like never going to end well. So use those resources that are available to you to help have a more guided conversation with people to make sure that you're protecting yourself, especially when you're burnt out, because it's not going to get any better.
It's not, no. That's definitely so important, and making sure you're setting those boundaries and, respecting your own time.
100%.
Yeah. So our next recovery tip, which is lifestyle changes, we kind of talked about a few of them. So kind of just combining them all together, but just listening to your body and seeing where you need to make adjustments, whether that be improving your sleep quality, like Jenny was talking about, exercising more, incorporating healthier diet, reducing caffeine or alcohol intake, which we're not being very, I really can't get that up right now. Yeah, as we are sipping wine and drinking our coffee in the morning.
Moderation.
Yes, everything in moderation. And so just making sure that you see where you need to make these changes and that you're actually making these changes and your body knows best. So definitely listen to it when it's trying to tell you to slow down. And definitely speaking from past experience, it definitely will tell you, when you need to slow down and kind of reevaluate and see where you're at.
Yeah. And as we've talked about before, if you don't stop when your body is telling you to, it will make you.
Yeah.
Eventually. Like it will throw you up against a wall, basically.
Yeah.
And lifestyle changes are scary. And like we see a lot on social media that people like mandate, like, this is the only way. And like, no, like it's up to you, right? Like for me, I love coffee and I used to drink multiple cups a day. And then when I got into my 30s, it started to bother me when I had more than 2 cups. So I was like, oh, this doesn't make me feel good. I need to like, scale it back. But it's also like you can taper yourself off of it. Like you don't have to do cold turkey stuff, right? You just have to put yourself in a position that's going to make you feel your best. And it was no longer making me feel my best to drink that much coffee. So I made a change. So only you can know what those changes are. There's no blueprint or one size fits all formula for what's going to make you feel better.
Yeah. And you don't need to make all those changes all at once either. Kind of start small, and if that is helping you feel better, I feel like you will want to continue making those improvements.
Yeah. And in fact, it's kind of impossible to make them all at once. It's like Mel Robbins always talks about this with like her habit stacking. You do one habit and you do it effectively. And then if you want to adopt a new habit, you stack it onto that one and do it right after or right before so that you can keep track of it and then it can become a habit. Mm-hmm. So just being cognizant of that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I mean, it wouldn't be Misha and I if we didn't like slide this one in here for you guys. Read a book, you guys. Like, my God, literally there are so many amazing novels out there that can literally make you escape what's going on between your ears because you're going into a universe. Like I'm reading A Court of Thorn and Roses right now. I think everyone's reading A Court of Thorn and Roses right now. Like it's like all over the internet. But my God, like Sarah J. Maas has just like built worlds for us to just like walk into and not have to think about anything. And there's nothing that's better for anxiety or burnout than like taking a step back from our own lives.
Yeah.
And, engaging with these characters, which is such a beautiful thing. And that's why I love art so much, because we're able to just kind of like immerse ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, even just like 10 minutes a day, like even helps, or like right before bed. Is that okay to read right before bed still?
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's actually really good for you.
Oh, okay, good. So even before bed, I know that, helps me a lot. Like kind of like it takes my mind off of like what I need to do and just kind of like settle down.
By the way, did you know that Sarah J. Maas is like 38 years old?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm putting it out into the universe that we're going to interview her one day.
Yes. There we go. Yeah. She's going to be on the Empowered Women Live Pod.
She will be. Mark our words.
Yes. She will be here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm actually probably like the only person that hasn't read it yet, but it is in my library's like checkout list. So hopefully I'll get it soon.
It's a commitment, girl. Like literally, It's so funny. I am on book 3 right now of A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I'm like so into it and loving it and like binging it. But also like Dolly Alderton just released another book that I want to read. There's like 4 business books that are like sitting untouched on my bedside table. There's so many things, like so much culture that I want to consume, but I'm so consumed in this that I cannot. So I think before I move on to her second series, after book 5, I'm going to like catch up on all that other stuff and then return to it.
That's a good idea.
Honestly, just all this to say, make sure that you're ready to commit because it is a commitment. But nonetheless, it can be super helpful. We hope that these tips were really helpful for you guys. As we've indicated before, we have an ebook on burnout, which goes into a lot more detail on identifying it, it's determining where it came from, and then as such, treating it effectively and what you can do to prevent it in the future, and how to combat it whenever you're in the thick of it. Like sometimes we're not perfect. You can't always meet it head on and make sure that you're going to be effective with it. So please reach out to us. We are happy to share that resource with you guys. And we are very excited to have you on as always. Keep your eyes out for our newsletter tomorrow. We've got some exciting stuff coming down the pipe.
And enjoy the rest of your Wine Wednesday in moderation.
And not too close to bed.
Yes, not too close to bed. We'll see y'all soon.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.